Well, thank you for your time, everybody. So I'm going to do the English portion of this presentation. I just want to kindly and politely ask that if you have any questions or anything that you want to raise, you save it till the end. Hopefully, my presentation can address a lot of these questions. And I do also have an FAQ session right after this presentation. So without further ado, I'll dive right in. Let's see. Okay, so this is the agenda for today, guys. I'm going to introduce myself, tell you a bit about myself. I want to talk about the business summary of KOK. I'm going to look at some of the future outlook of this business. And I'm going to talk about the opportunity and why I decided to join this business. And I'll talk about the compensation plan, followed by a frequently asked questions segment, okay? So who am I? So my name is Jake. I'm a millennial here. I grew up in Toronto. I'm working at a bank right now. I'm an analyst. I've been working from home. I graduated from university with a Bachelor of Commerce. And to tell you a little bit about myself, I felt like, living in Toronto has been very hard. And, I'm renting on my own. And so I thought, I need to find another source of income. And personally, I'm striving to be financially independent and retire early. So just to be, I always think it's important to introduce myself. I want to be very transparent with you guys. And I don't work for KOK. I'm not an affiliate of KOK. This is something that I stumbled across a couple months back. And I just want to share an angle that I saw, an opportunity that I saw that I didn't see in the beginning. So let's talk about the business summary, right? So general overview here. It's the company's called Keystone of Opportunity and Knowledge. It originated in South Korea. And what is the product here? It is a digital content platform, and it was launched in 2018, first in Korea, obviously, and then subsequently in China. So the company has three values, right? They look at three things here: fair, share, and enabling. They want to allow all the members and us to exploit off these assets. And how do you do that? They leverage technology, and the four central theme here is through decentralization. They leverage blockchain, and they use artificial intelligence, and they use big data. And I'll kind of go over and touch upon these points a bit more throughout the presentation. So next, let's look at the industry outlook. I think it's always important to set the stage here and kind of understand the environment that this business is operating in. So if we look at this industry, the global content market industry, right, it's expected to reach to almost $1 trillion by 2022, okay? So let's see what happened, right? Roughly a year ago, the pandemic happened, right? I think we're in a point in age now where everyone has an access to a smartphone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, whatever it is, right? And this, with this access and coupled with the pandemic, I think we've seen a surge and a big increase in digital content consumption and the way people do e-commerce and just the way people interact with other people just around the world, right? This is a norm now, and I think the world is quickly changing every day. And if we look at the next slide here, these are just two graphs from, sourced by PwC. If you look at the market size of this industry, right, it is in an uptrend, and we're seeing, 2021 is expected to see almost $12 billion worth in the market size of this industry, right? If we look at the second graph right beside it, the compound annual growth rate for stuff like virtual reality, OTT video games, and internet advertising, right? Again, we're seeing a big uptrend here. So this company is in an environment, they're in a business segment where we're seeing growth year over year. And that's important to think about, right? When you look at where this company is today and where they will be in 2 to 5 years from now. One more piece I want to kind of share with you, right? The digital content market has been growing steadily over 10% annually, right? And again, I touched upon the pandemic earlier. This has led to an explosive growth. And if we look at kind of the App Store, especially in the Chinese market, right, there's been a 62% increase of people just downloading games and playing games, okay? Netflix is another great example, right? The first quarter of 2020, roughly when the pandemic started to really take effect on the world, and lockdowns happening all over the countries, we see a big increase in the number of users and an influx in the number of users onto the Netflix platform. So this is just to show you guys what the digital content consumption scene is looking like right now and what it will look like heading into the future. So we talked about the industry outlook. Now, every time I do my due diligence in a company, right, I always like to look at the management, right? Who is leading this company? So the founders / the executive team, they're comprised of reputable and seasoned industry professionals with technology and entertainment. So within those spheres, and they all have proven track records of success. So these are all individuals with they have extensive experience within their respective fields. They have many feats, and they've managed companies. They've been CEOs, and they have experience from tech and from gaming and music and media, and they've come together to really replicate their strengths onto this platform now. And I'll go through each and one of them. So we'll start with the CEO, Jiwon Kang. So he has his master's degree, and he's also the CEO of Super Asset. And I'll tell you why this Super Asset is a very important piece of information, and I'll talk more about Super Asset down the presentation. But Super Asset is basically, they used to be a former subsidiary company of Nexon. And I think Nexon is obviously the largest game publisher in South Korea. He's also the manager of Unilever. So Unilever is one of the biggest consumer goods companies in the world. And he's also the CEO of Weirdsoft. So Weirdsoft is also another indie game dev company. Let's look at Hwan Dong-seop. He's also a director here. He has his master's degree at Yonsei University, a doctor's degree at Hanyang University, CEO of the Groove Entertainment. Okay. He's also director of Korea Entertainment Producers Association. So this individual, as someone who's known in Korea as pushing content and publishing content into the Chinese and South Korean market. So if we look at what this platform is trying to achieve, this is a very important figure. He's well known in the industry. He has got lots of leverage in the industry, right? In terms of the media and the music and the Korean drama space. So this man, he used to be the CEO, but the roles have switched. So just keep in mind for this person. The bread and butter right here, the brain behind the blockchain technology. We have the CTO, Chief Technology Officer, Young Cho. He has a Bachelor of Nuclear Engineering, a doctor's degree of Computer Science. He's also currently the Professor of Engineering at Yonsei University. And he's been on executive boards for many companies like Samsung and SK Hynix. If you guys don't know what SK Hynix is, SK Hynix is the third largest semiconductor producing company in the world. He's also the research director at NVIDIA. He's also a chief developer at BMC Software. Okay. And a little tidbit here, Young Cho also leads a crypto finance / cybersecurity company called 3K Finance, where he currently serves as the chief security officer. And he also has Silicon Valley experience. So he's also the CEO and founder of a company called Crypto Valley Lab, where he does a lot of work behind blockchain, AI, cryptocurrency. So this is an individual that has extensive experience in the crypto world, in the blockchain technology world. And I think this is a very important figure to have on your team, especially when you're leading a platform like this. Next, we have the CSO. So this guy specializes in platform development, and he has experience in game dev as well. He graduated of business management at Seoul National University, co-founder of GameWave, CEO of Nectar. Again, these are subsidiaries of game developing companies, and he's also a business strategist at HyperConnect. Lastly, we have Jin-Suk Ko, the CIO. Again, I think this guy complements Young Cho very well. He has his master's degree of computer science at Seoul National University. He's the CEO of TenSpace. And I'll tell you why this is more important down the line. I think TenSpace is a very important company and a very big piece into the success of the KOK platform. This is an individual with government work experience, and he has a very, very strong and extensive background in AI, ML, and blockchain. So ML meaning machine learning. So I kind of talked about the management. I want to talk about the next segment here, which is the product itself, right? These are, screenshots that I took from the application itself. You see the content section, you see games, you see the movies and the dramas that you have access to, right? You have the shopping section where you can purchase goods with your KOK tokens through affiliated shopping malls in Korea. and then you have essentially the wallet itself. And I'll talk about more about the wallet down the line, but you can exchange it for different types of coins, like, and I'll go deep into that as well. And this is, I just wanted to show you a visual representation of what the app looks like. So let's look at the revenue model here, right? How does this company make money? When I do my due diligence on companies before I buy stock, before I do my investments, I always want to know where this money is coming from. So, and I like the figures that I see here, because 45% of the money, the revenue that's generated, comes from pushing content. So whether it's through developers wanting to uplist their games onto the platform, they'll collect a fee from that, right? Whenever they do a live concert, right? Imagine where you have a lockdown and you're not able to go see a concert live, right? So these to broadcast live concerts on their platform, which they'll also collect a fee from, and from the games, the in-game transactions itself, and etc. Next, 35% of the revenue comes from large brand advertisements. So BMW, Hyundai, Pepsi, Samsung, Gucci, they all pay KOK to upload their ads onto the feed section of the platform. And yes, these are real advertisements. You can go into the app and click on them, and you'll be directed to their website. So I think we're in a day and age where advertisements generate a huge portion of revenue for many companies, right? Because advertisements provide data, and data is what big companies use to target their customers, right? So it makes sense to me that, platform business like this, they have roughly almost 80% of the revenue strictly from contents and advertisements. Next, let's look at online shopping. 15% generated just from transaction itself, from the shopping malls and the affiliated stores. And then we have 5% just from the operational nature of fees and the way they collect their fees. And every time you decide to transfer your money, or for those who like to terminate their account too early. So again, these are just some examples. Anything that you do on this app, they collect a fee from that, but it's a very, very minimal portion. You could tell it's only 5%. So this is their revenue model breakdown. I also want to go into, and I want to emphasize that, on this platform, to be successful, you need a strong number of user base. And I think, the members here they serve as the assets. So the more and more users continue to grow on this platform and continue to interact, and as transactions are being done, it adds more value to the advertisement. It adds more value to the business channeling, the shopping, and the games. So I don't really want to spend too much time on this slide. This is just for me to tell you guys how important it is for this platform to succeed based on the number of users it has. Okay, so the next segment, I want to talk about the token. So the tokens can be mined and staked, and they have a finite amount available. So it's not like this company just keeps creating tokens out of thin air. No, there's only a finite amount available, and I'll go more into that down the presentation. They're currently traded on 3 major exchanges. So Bittrex was the most recent addition here. It's a U.S. Cryptocurrency exchange, and they can be exchanged for stuff like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and U.S. dollar Tether. Bitdom is a big Korean exchange, and ZBG is a big Chinese exchange. So it's interesting when you have an opportunity like this where most tokens have to first undergo something called an ICO, or initial coin offering, and then they get listed onto an exchange, right? But here we already have a token that's not really a coin yet, but can be exchanged for stuff like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it proves that there's a lot of liquidity in here. And how do they preserve the value of this token? Through a fixed value program. So the fixed value program basically follows the law of supply and demand. So in the beginning, there's a finite amount that we can stake and mine. 150 million KOK tokens available to us, to people like us to mine. And as the platform grows and as the usage rate increases through the games and through the shopping malls and etc., the demand will increase eventually as more and more people join on this platform. And what they do is the company goes through periodical burning cycles. So what happens is, following the law of supply and demand, what they do is some of these coins are then, or the tokens are then recovered by the foundation, and they remove that supply from the masses. So if you know the law of supply and demand, right? Less supply, more demand increases the value of the tokens. So they do this in periodic cycles to preserve the valuation of tokens and increase the value of these tokens over time without too much volatility. If you guys are aware, if you guys have been following Bitcoin, Bitcoin has been very volatile lately. And if you're day trading Bitcoin, I know that most investors, sometimes it's hard to stomach, the wild swings. But they follow a different rule here, and this is their way of preserving the value of these tokens as the demand increases. Okay, so I talked about the token there, and I want to talk about some of the stuff that they want to get into, right? When I look at companies, I always want to see what more are they doing? What is their future outlook like, right? I don't like companies that are stagnant. I don't like companies that are comfortable with where they are. I like companies that are always trying to be disruptive. So these are some certain things that I found here, and to me these are catalysts, and I want to share these with you guys. They want to get into FX trading, right? They partner with a company called Nextground. They're basically a virtual currency trading platform, and they're preparing to trade FX products through KOK. So basically, you can use your KOK tokens to dive into a wide variety of FX products down the line. And they also want to get into debit cards. So imagine you skip the whole process of trading your tokens for Bitcoin and then selling your Bitcoin and transferring to your ShakePay wallet and then transferring to your online bank account and then withdrawing that cash. Instead, you skip all those hurdles, and you can withdraw your token in the form of cash through the ATM. Next, they're going to get into mortgage lending. So TenSpace, right? I talked about TenSpace earlier, the CEO of TenSpace, right? TenSpace is actually one of Korea's most innovative fintech companies, and they provide AI services to a commodities trading company in the U.S. To help track financial crime. And they've developed something called AI Loan, and I think it's already been debuted in Korea. It's essentially a fintech product that they want to provide mortgage loans beyond the traditional credit worthiness. So instead of you going to a traditional bank and getting approved for a mortgage, these guys want to look further than that. They want to look at your posts, your SNS records, and examine those relationships and to see more creative ways they could in using their algorithms to provide these types of loans. I think this is a very unique space that they want to get into. It's a very, very disruptive space, and they're also looking to try and break into markets like Southeast Asia and Japan. Let's look at content expansion now. So we all know that Webtoon, one of Korea's most dominant K content and fastest spreading digital content in the world. This is big. As it expands globally, users will be able to enjoy some of the latest Webtoon contents that are already on stuff like Google Play, the Apple Store, and etc. The company is also looking to profit off of this through the secondary copyright production business. So they want to sell their IP and create stronger synergies between their content and the Webtoons itself. This is something unique. I also thought as well. They want to get into virtual reality and expand, their library of games. Dream City, right? This is kind of the product they're working on. They want to develop a new virtual reality world, because the reality world is sometimes, I think we might be heading into a direction where VR can be very lucrative in terms of just the way we shop, right? Experiencing real world traveling experiences from the comfort of your home, right? Again, I think this is a very ambitious feat that they're going after, and to me, it's always positive when I see a company breaking into different segments. Speaking of games, right? They have games featured on the Apple Global Feature that's set to be released on the KOK platform, such as Laser Fang Pang and City Tour 2048. Again, these games are developed by external developers, right? And why I like this is because now, as the platform grows, right, they're getting more and more inquiries to have their games on the KOK platform. So this is good business for KOK, right? You have a game dev company with a very successful game on their app store, and they say, hey, KOK, we want to put our game onto your platform. Let's work out a deal. So obviously this is a win-win for both companies. KOK can collect fees from having the games listed on their app, and the devs can have more exposure to their game to the masses. Okay, another feature outlook I like is, they want to continue listing their tokens on more exchanges. So we know that it started off with ZBG and BitDom. Most recently, they've had their tokens added onto Bittrex. And they're going to keep going. And you know what that means, right? When more and more exchanges are adopting the token, that means more people have hands on these tokens. More people can buy these tokens. And when you have more liquidity in these tokens, you're obviously going to create a surge of demand, and it's going to create more exposure and increase the value of these tokens. The company's also, looking to get this listed on big exchanges such as Binance and Coinbase, and they want to develop further partnerships with financial institutions. I think it's important that financial institution partnerships is something that they strive for because, I think maybe a couple of years ago, we were looking at a space where banks like JP Morgan and, big US banks, they absolutely did not like Bitcoin. They were putting out predictions like, Bitcoin is not going to thrive in the next few years, right? Without regulation and this. But now what happened a couple months ago? JP Morgan just bought almost $150 million worth of Bitcoin. And they put out a statement saying, we believe Bitcoin is going to be worth $150,000 per Bitcoin down the future because Bitcoin is finite, okay? And I think a lot of people don't know where to park their money right now, right? Traditional banks aren't giving you the interest or the rates of the return on investment that Bitcoin is giving you. So I think it's an important scene to keep watching and to see how Bitcoin develops. It would definitely have a ripple effect on KOK token as well. But again, I want to stress that the KOK business is about the platform. Token is just an added bonus. They're obviously going to increase their platform upgrade their platform and fix. Always looking to upgrade how the app interacts with their customers. So they want to have their own Play Store, include a global messenger service, have an open platform where we can have more peer-to-peer business where you and I can sell our goods and services to other people as well, and it kind of looking into that drop shipping model and see how we can open our own business, right? They want to also get into enforcing a stronger and more asynchronous SNS community service. So SNS is basically social media. Okay, next, opportunity. So this is the next few slides will kind of reflect on why I joined, and I think these are the catalysts that I put together based on my own research, based on my own findings, and based on just myself studying the business here. I think the company is going to continue to grow. This is a company where the floor is already set, right? The sky is the ceiling now. They're operating in an environment that has room to grow. I looked at, I showed you guys what the industry outlook is like in the beginning, right? It's a very positive space where you just don't know where tech can take these guys, especially with the number of contents that are being put out every day. And it leads to my number 2 point here. This is a company that's disruptive. They're breaking barriers into various different segments. We looked at VR, we looked at mortgage loans, we looked at advertisements, contents. So they're trying to do a lot here, and this is something that's positive to me, right? They like taking risks, and they're striving to essentially take a bit of a market share from the bigger traditional American companies by leveraging their tech. And it kind of ties on to my third point. They're competitive, right? We know that Google and Apple have been around for many, many, many years. They're traditional American companies that have dominated the content market for who knows how long. But KOK company, to me, it sounds like it's like almost like a nationalism thing, right? This is South Korea's way of, hey, this is our company, and we want to see how we can compete for this market share using our platform and break this monopoly. My fourth point is they have government support. This is a company that has been acknowledged and recognized by the Chinese government, and they're currently supported by South Korean government officials, right? These are quotes from that I just kind of pasted here from the September 2019 KOK conference. So I'll just read one of them. They say, we highly appreciate KOK Foundation's new attempts, which encompass IT, cultural content, and finance, and since we're now in the era of convergence and integration. So, I always like when we have government support, especially behind an engine like this. It's almost like Korea saying, we want to see us win, right? And my next point here for number 5, token valuation, right? Right now the token's trading at I think roughly just under 29 cents a token, but we've seen a steady increase over the years, and I think again it alludes back to my point that we have a finite amount of tokens that can be mined or staked, and it's paired with their fixed value program, right? They want to preserve the values of the tokens steadily and avoid volatility. And, it's estimated that, these founders think that the tokens will be valued at $100 in the next 4 to 5 years. Who knows exactly what the valuation will be? I'm personally optimistic. Again, the foundation has 500 million tokens, and within that 500 million, 150 million has been available to us for us to stake. I talked about Super Acid before, and I'll tell you why Super Acid is very important. The CEO of Super Acid is the CEO of KOK. K Clavis is a big asset manager / investment fund in South Korea, and they made a $63 billion investment into Super Acid. Okay, Super Acid in turn successfully led the release of Magia through KOK Play. So Magia is a very successful game that has been on the Google Play Store and etc. So to me, it speaks volumes when you have a company staking 63 billion into Super Acid, especially when the 45% of the revenue, right, of KOK comes from content. So if they're able to develop and keep releasing games like Magia, right, with the $63 billion investment, I think this is a win-win for Super Acid, for the K-Class investors, and also for the KOK platform. Okay, so I talked about the catalysts. I want to talk about the early adoption here. So in North America, right, we're in an early adoption phase. I think the current focus now is for people like us, it's growing the user base, right? The founders of this company are focusing on leveraging their platform. But us, right, as the members, I talked about how the members serve as a valuable asset to this platform. That is what's going to make this platform successful. The North American market is untapped and it's not saturated, okay? So I think timing-wise, this is a great opportunity. This is not your traditional networking or multi-level marketing company. I'm not asking you to sell tangible products like vitamins or energy drinks. No, we're not buying these products from a company and distributing to our downlines, right? This is not the case at all. There's no pressure to meet sales targets or there's no pressure to bring in a certain number of people every month so you receive your residual paycheck. This is nothing like that. Again, I want to emphasize this is a platform business, right? In the digital content consumption space, and they're leveraged by technology, and they're simply using a network marketing approach to scale and grow the user base. I think also there's a strong short-term and long-term outlook here. There's incentives on both ends, right? There's a very, very lucrative compensation plan, which I'll talk about in detail. There's a very high interest earned for staking your money to mine these tokens. You have the freedom to walk away whenever you want, right? The administrative hurdles of signing people up or referring people, it's not like the olden days of traditional, network companies where you have to get their email, their bank account number, their name, their address. We bypass all these hurdles, and I like that these coins have the tokens have liquidity. The thought of just mining these tokens and then being able to swap them for bitcoins or withdrawing the money right away or the profits right away right into your bank account. I think this is a company that's with its times, and we're moving into a direction where, it's not. This isn't your traditional MLM business. Okay, long term, I think hopefully the platform grows, which it will, and the volume of participants in the transactions continue to rise. It becomes widely adopted around the world, and we see a higher valuation in these tokens. Okay, so I talked about the business. I talked about who's running this business. I talked about the catalysts and the opportunities. I want to talk about the compensation, right? This is the big elephant in the room, and I think it's important that I address this in detail. So there's 3 ways that you can receive compensation, okay? Number 1, passive compensation. So if I'm going to just quickly go, so there's a typo here, I apologize for that, but basically anywhere from 100 to 14.99 USD that you stake, you can earn 3%, and then 1,500 to 9,999, 5%, and anything 10,000 and above, you would earn a monthly interest of 7%. So if you stake 10,000 US, you will literally collect $700 US every month. So I want to tell you guys, this is something that accrues daily. So you'll continue to see money coming in and your profits coming in daily. And also keep in mind that these profits and the initial deposit can be withdrawn at any time. Okay, so I want to also address a big misconception here, right? It's not 1,000, so block technology, right? Proof of work basically means that you have all these equipment to mine, and so mining is basically solving these complex computational problems. And every time you solve these problems and certify or validate a block in that chain, you're awarded with a certain number of bitcoins, right? But as the blockchain technology has evolved, we're now in an era where we use something called POS. So POS means proof of stake. So to validate these nodes, right, to validate these blocks or to attest these blocks, we're in an environment now where POS, which transitioned from POW, we have to stake real money, right, in order to validators on the POS chains to recognize that, and you're awarded through the form of tokens, okay? So 7% through the valuation of these tokens. And I'll go in more into that. It might sound a bit confusing, but just trust me on this. So this is number one, first way of making compensation, through the passive income. The next way you can make money is through the frontier compensation. So I'll talk about the first condition here just as an example. So if you personally invite one person, right? Let's say you have one downline under you or one person under you. And if they stake $10,000 US, so if they earn 700 US for that month, you will also earn 100% of that person's interest. So you will also take $700, okay? But obviously, as your downline grows and you have more people that you recruit, again, it's in ratio, right? The more people you have, you're not expected to earn 100% of each income, okay? So I understand, you see at the last line there, for the 11th generation above. So once you get to a point where you have 11 lines of generation under you, right? This is when it starts to get fun, right? So to start earning profit on this, you have to earn something called a 3-star. And I'll talk about what these stars mean. So as an example, a 3-star means you have a direct recommendation of at least 10 people. So you refer exactly 10 people. And you have at least 3 2-star partners right under you. So within those 10 that you recommend, you have 2 of them become 2-star partners. And you have a total staking volume of $30,000 US. So this only starts to really matter once you get to a point where you have 11 generations worth of people, okay? And I'll tie this into why this makes sense with the next level of compensation that you get. So it's called level compensation. So I talked about frontier, I talked about passive, and I'm going to talk about level. So I'll come back to the structure in a minute, just to clarify some of the confusion that you might have, okay? So level compensation. So how do you become a 1-star, okay? So 1-star, you simply just directly recommend 5 people. So once you directly recommend 5 people, you're automatically a 1-star. And what does that 1-star give you? It gives you the ability to collect 1% of your direct recommendations monthly earnings. So let's say 5 of your downlines all stake $1,000 US, okay? So $1,000 US, they'll collect, each of them will collect 3%. So whatever 3% of 1,000 is, my math is not, I guess $30 US per, you'll collect a percentage of that each, okay? And again, as you trickle down, as you become a 2-star, and you become a 3-star, you become a 4-star, it becomes more lucrative. So I'll give you an example here. And I'll talk about what gen profits are and DR profits are in a second. But let's use 4-star example. So let's say you become a 4-star one day. So to become a 4-star, what's the condition? You need to have 3 3-stars under you, okay? And when you have 3 3-stars under you, you will start to collect 5% of your generation's profits and 3% of your direct recommendations profits. So I talked about these generation profits, they only start to really accrue once you hit that 11th generation threshold. So, once you build up to your 11th line and above, this is when you start to collect your downline's profits through the generational and through the DR. So what does generation profit mean? It's basically the percentage of the total staking or mining profits that your generations receive. So they're from the 11th generation and onward. You'll collect 3% of that. In addition to that, you'll collect 5% of that, since I've been referring to the foresight. In addition to that, you'll collect 3% of the percentage of the total staking / mining profits from your direct recommendations, okay? So again, the more you go down, right, the more lucrative it gets. And eventually, if you ever get there, congrats to you. When you get to an 8-star, you must have 3 7-stars under you. You'll collect 10% of your gen profits, 10% of your DR. You'll get another 1% of the global profits. So basically, everyone around the world, you'll collect a percentage of that revenue. Okay, so I don't even know if anyone ever got to 8-star, but hey, if you ever get there, kudos to you. Again, so I talked about here the 3 levels of compensation, right? Level compensation, frontier compensation, and passive compensation. So, if you think frontier and level compensation, this is too much work, I don't really have much time, I don't want to pursue that route. Maybe you're someone who's very busy, you just want to throw money in there and stake and collect 7%, you can do that. Keep in mind, however, through the passive, through the frontier, through the level, if your monthly and your total interest caps at 200% from your initial deposit, okay? So if you put down $10,000 US, and let's say you keep collecting 7%, 7%, 7%, 7% every month, when you hit that 200% limit, it caps. But if you redeposit additional funds, that cap resets, and that 200% will now be capped on that new initial deposit that you put in. Okay, so keep that in mind. And again, these rates and these compensation rates are always subject to change based on the company, based on where the company is down the line. These rates are not something that that I have my tabs on all the time. Who knows where these rates will be? But these have been consistent rates for a very long time now. I want to go back to this diagram here, right? I know, what does it mean to be a 3-star? So I'm going to use that 3-star as an example, right? I talk about once you hit that 11th generation, you want to make sure you're a 3-star. So how do you make sure you're a 3-star? Again, you want to have a direct recommendation of 10 people, have at least 3 2-stars under you, have a total staking volume of 30,000 US. So you're a 3-star here, right? You got 10 people right under you, and then you got 3 2-stars right under you, okay? And then out of their whole staking volume, they're staking a total amount of 30,000 US, okay? And again, the same concept for a 2-star, right? Direct recommend at least 5 people, have at least 1 star under you. Sorry, in each of the 3 lines, right? So 3 1-stars under you. And again, for the 1-star, you just, again, as I said before, you only need to directly recommend 5 people, okay? So that's kind of the structure for the frontier. I want to show you a visual diagram of that. So that's the compensation piece, okay? So before I head into the FAQ, this is my angle into the business. This is my point of view. This is something that I seen about the business that I liked, and I wanted to share that with you guys, right? Again, all the materials, all the stuff that I put in this PowerPoint is from whatever's available online and through the pamphlets that you guys might have in front of you, okay? This is a PowerPoint that I curated myself to maybe storytell better and to visually, maybe help people understand some of the misconceptions that you might have about this company. So speaking of misconceptions, I want to go through the FAQ, frequently asked questions. So what is the difference between this company and other network marketing companies with tokens? I'm pretty sure maybe some of you have come across opportunities like this where they're also offering some coin and, wait till we ICO and they'll be worth this much. Again, this is a digital content platform business, right? This is a company competing for the digital content consumption market share, right? From big companies that have been around for so long, like Google, like Apple. You're not purchasing tokens hoping that the company undergoes an ICO one day and boom, you're all rich. This is not the case here. You're staking real money on the blockchain network to attest these blocks and serve as validated on the proof of stake chain, right? And, these staked or mined KOK token can also be exchanged on cryptocurrencies exchanges with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and US dollar tether. I've seen MLM opportunities that come up. You can't trade their coins or tokens on an exchange, okay? I've never seen that happen, but KOK is in a very unique space, so keep that in mind. How do I know this is not a scam? Okay, well, this has been acknowledged and recognized by two governments, the Chinese government and the South Korean government, right? This is something where the founders and the management team have proven track records of success. They're very successful within their own respective industries, right? They have strong credibility, right? Why would they put their reputation on the line to scam millions and millions and millions of people around the world? That doesn't make sense. This is a company that has been meeting its milestone objectives consistently, okay? They put out a timeline and they put out, they want to do this, they want to achieve this, and they've been meeting that. This is a company where you can walk away with your initial deposit and your profits earned tomorrow if you like. If you don't like the business, go ahead, walk away. There are no fees. You don't lose money, okay? You get your money back, and that's a done deal. This is a company where you don't have to pay $500 to sign up, or you pay somebody just to join, right? And again, I talked about where this company makes its money, right? A significant portion of its revenue comes from content sale and advertisements. It doesn't come from us. Can I just create more accounts with multiple smartphones? No. So, the company will use your IP address. They have their own, select algorithms to detect this type of behavior. And if you are caught, your account will be locked and your initial deposit and your profits earned will not be recoverable. So just keep that in mind. They want to assure it's a fair play for everybody, right? They don't want to exploit this where people can just get 20 devices and sign up themselves and keep staking like this. That is not the case here, right? They're here to prevent that, and they have. Is this a platform business? If this is a platform business, why does this company use a network marketing approach? Okay, so again, I emphasized this earlier in my presentation. The user base are considered an important asset. Again, this is a platform, and what makes a platform successful? The number of users it has. Network marketing just happens to be one of the fastest ways to grow user base, okay? This is a company in its infancy stage. They're operating in a competitive landscape, right? These guys are babies. They want to compete against bigger companies that have been around for many, many years. They want to disrupt the industry and they want to compete for that market share, okay? So the fastest way to grow in an opportunity like this is through network marketing. How is this company able to give up to 7% interest? Okay, so listen, you're not investing in hopes of receiving interest like a traditional banking instruments or traditional financing investments, right? You're not putting money into Questrade and hoping your stock goes up tomorrow. This is not the case. Again, I want to reiterate, you are staking your deposited cash and you are rewarded with KOK tokens via a proof of stake attestation on their blockchain. The rates and compensation plans are always subject to change as the business continues to scale, grow, and ultimately become successful. There is a 200% cap on all the profits earned based on your initial deposits. I talked about this cap again, which this cap can be removed as you deposit more money. And again, the 7%, you know what? To me, it serves as a strong incentive for members to actively grow their user base and their downline. Why not? If you put in the work, why not get compensated for it, right? Consider how Uber first started in Canada. I used to be an Uber driver when I was in university, right? I had to make some cash on the side. So when Uber was new and I became a driver, you know how I became a driver? Someone had to refer me, okay? So when I became a driver, I had to refer somebody else. And when I referred that other individual, I collected $250 every time I referred somebody. So again, I think in the growth stages, it makes sense for private companies to expend this cash. This is their way of marketing, right? And I think 7%, again, it's very rewarding. But again, there's a cap to it, right? Rates are always subject to change. But again, it reiterates back to my point. If you're going to help the company grow, and if you're going to put in the work, and if you hustle, why not receive that compensation for it? So I think those are the 5 top questions that are always asked based on my presentation that I've given.